Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Mind arises without abiding. I trust you have gotten a glimpse yourself of the importance of this statement from the Diamond Sutra. Originally, or from the first, or really, there is not one thing. I trust you have been able to savor the truth of this as well. Again, in response to the head monk's statement about constantly, continually polishing the mirror. The retreat, the session has now gone on for several days, so I'm sure you have been dealing with perhaps sleepiness, drowsiness, some pain, but in patiently, moment by moment, continuing the practice, it becomes truly settled. I mentioned briefly the other day about the importance of genuine concentration, focus, or attention, and that this attention in Zen practice is not the same as what we ordinarily think of as concentrating on something. We could say this Zen concentration comes from the ground itself and embraces us. We do not turn our attention to it so much as it embraces and sustains us. It comes to be the way that we are, this kind of seamless, without a break or a gap, seamless concentration. Of course, to, so to speak, develop this, we need to return again and again and again in our practice. But as mentioned before, the point is to realize that this fundamental concentration is not something that we are creating, developing, even deepening. Finally, it becomes clear. It is the ground itself. It does not come and go. This is genuine Zen concentration. Again, there are interesting expressions, for example, in truly concentrating, there is neither seer nor seen. In other words, there is neither someone in here looking, seeing, nor is there something, some object out there seen, looked at. This is the concentration of true seeing. And of course, it is true of all the senses. In fully giving ourselves, we you might say, lose ourselves and find ourselves in each and everything. In each and everything not being a thing, but allowing it to truly be what it is. This concentration is manifest, is found to be always already here. So please continue to work on polishing that mirror and doing the basic moment-to-moment practice. But keep that single eye open, and you will see, finally, it is not something that we create or produce. In this Zen concentration, who is it that is concentrating on what? Who concentrates on what? This very question falls in on itself. This is true, seamless. It could also be called formless concentration, which can turn its attention on anything in a way that is inconceivable for the ordinary ego self. I urge you to find this through your own practice and to see that it is always already here. It is the basis of our practice. It is the basis of true human life. To make this clear, let us continue the story of the Sixth Patriarch. After those two poems were written, the Fifth Patriarch called the young man, the illiterate man who was to become the Sixth Patriarch, and spoke to him in private, in secret. He conferred, he gave the robe and the bowl, supposedly Bodhidharma's robe and bowl, as a symbol that you are now the Sixth Patriarch. These are the symbols of the transmission and lineage. Then he told the newly made Sixth Patriarch, the Fifth Patriarch told him, go, hide yourself in the mountains for some time. Later, your light will shine. And of course, the now newly made Sixth Patriarch, that illiterate country bumpkin, went in the night. The Fifth Patriarch did that because he knew that there would be some tension, some anger, some jealousy, even among this very mature Sangha, or community of practitioners. And sure enough, the next day, when word went around that this young know-nothing had gone off with the robe and the bowl, many of the monks were incensed, very angry, and decided, we will go and get it back. So they chased after the newly made Sixth Patriarch. Well, one of the monks had been a kind of a general, a military leader, a very strong and, well, perhaps arrogant man who had become a monk a little bit later in life. Very strong and capable. He was the first one to catch the Sixth Patriarch in the mountains. And when he did, the Sixth Patriarch put the robe and the bowl on a rock and said, These are the symbols of the transmission. They are not to be dealt with by force. If you want them, there they are. At this moment, that arrogant monk who had chased him had a sudden change of heart. And he realized what he was really seeking. But first, he had one last moment. You might say here is where the great doubt is enveloping him. And what he did was he grabbed the robe and the bowl and tried to pick it up, to take it. But for the life of him, he couldn't lift it. He couldn't move it an inch. A very strong monk, and the robe and the bowl are not that big or heavy. You must see into his, so to speak, psychological and spiritual state at that moment. He couldn't take it. Have you come to that extremity in your practice? He wanted it more than anything in the world, and yet he couldn't even lift it. This is when, we might say, a change of heart occurred. And he realized, I have not come for the robe and the bowl. I have come for the Dharma. Please, shine your light on me. Teach me. Here is where the famous koan comes in. The Sixth Patriarch now says to this monk, don't think good, don't think bad. What is your original face right here and now? Your original face. Not good, not bad. Forget the good, forget the bad. Show me. It can also be rendered as, show me your original face. In some versions, it actually says, before the birth of your parents, or before you were born of your parents. There's no subject in the classical Chinese, so it can be translated either way. It doesn't matter. The point is, before mind arises, before there is this and that, good and bad, illusion and enlightenment, right there, what is your original face? A very concrete expression. Your real face. Note that original face, Hondai no Menmoku. That's the same word, the original, as the Hondai Muichimotsu. Originally, there is not one thing. It's the same word. And it's usually translated as original. Over the years, I've come to see that that can be misleading. It might be better to translate something like from the first, or really right here and now. That's what it's saying. Not some distant past. Really right here and now. What is your original face? With that, the monk awakened. He had a profound awakening. You see how well, again, it's a legend, but it's a good one, how well the Sixth Patriarch was able to freely use this realization, being without a thing, without one thing, and being able to respond at that moment in just the right way. Forget the good, forget the bad. Where is your original face? Boom. You can see, can't you, how this is none other than mind arises without abiding. What a marvelous example. This is also no different than originally, from the first. Really, there is not one thing. There's the original face shining forth clearly. This is the essential teaching of the Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch, at least seen as a living Zen teaching. I trust it is of some use in your own practice to make clear what it is to practice, what you are doing moment to moment on the cushion and off the cushion. And that, so to speak, the ground, the root, the source of that practice must itself be not one thing. Mind arising without abiding in one thing. I trust you can see this, perhaps for some abstract sounding expression, originally not one single thing, is not abstract at all. It is this, not being one thing. Allowing everything to be what it truly is, not simply an object for me. You realize the danger, surely from your own experience, the danger of turning something into an object which you then chase after or run away from. I mentioned yesterday briefly, have you ever truly been in love, fallen in love, as a way of showing you that we are not talking about something so different? To really fall in love, when you do that, the other, your beloved, the one you love, your beloved is not an object, is it? No, no. Well, it's the exact same thing here. The true dignity, the true beauty, the truth, the goodness, and the beauty of each and everything is manifest when it is not turned into an object. When we turn it into an object, it's just a shadow. The true dignity, beauty, truth, and goodness of each and everything shines forth when we see it as what it truly is. I, not being a thing, seeing this, which is not a thing. This is the point of Zen practice. No more, no less. Then, as mentioned yesterday, to bring that to life in every aspect, so that finally it can be naturally forgotten. There is not a trace. Before we go into the questions, let us take a moment to gather ourselves and check that our posture and our breathing is correct. The essential point is for the back to be naturally erect, not forced, but naturally erect, so that we can remain clear and focused. This is very helpful. How you put your legs is not so important. If you have to sit in a chair, that's fine. Don't put your back against the back of the chair, but keep it erect. The same principle. If you're sitting in half lotus or in Burmese with your legs flat on the ground, or in seiza on your haunches, like for the tea ceremony, or in full lotus, allow the back to be naturally erect, the head straight, the hands, as explained yesterday, and the eyes half closed, just naturally focusing in front of us, as you might see someone praying in church. This is what our eyes would do if we're not really looking for or at anything. They would naturally just fall a few feet in front of us. Our senses remain open and functioning. This is important. We are not closing ourselves off. We are opening ourselves up completely without making stories, without conceiving anything in our mind, allowing our mind to be fully present in a way that is unimaginable for the ordinary ego self, to be fully present. Without raising a thought. We don't need to do that. If mind arises, fine, but we don't need to even think one thought, shallow or profound, not even necessary. Simply being fully present with all of our six senses, the five senses and the mind, without giving rise to anything, because we don't need to. Without pulling anything in through the senses, and without going out seeking anything with the senses. Again, and yet fully present. This is the essential attitude, so to speak, of Zazen. The breath, very, very helpful. Giving all of ourselves with each out breath, and then with each in breath, breathing in the nutrients, the energy of the universe itself, and then breathing out everything. Not one thing remains. If you are working on a koan, to lock onto it, it's not separate from the concentration I was talking about. But you don't need a formal koan. The sitting itself can be that. Simply give all of yourself to it. Today will be our second chance to have online encounter, a kind of one-on-one. So please This is for the fundamental practice. If you have a question about pain or posture or sleepiness or something like that, you can bring it up in the question and answer now. But during one-on-one, don't bring a single thing. That's the best way. Does anyone have a question or concern from out of the practice for the benefit of all? Please feel free to ask it. Thank you for listening so intently.
Dear Jeff, you mentioned already twice a certain observation you made, and you spoke about tragedy, that you saw so many people sitting for years and years, sometimes decades, and hanging on their delusion and mind. So that rises, I don't know if in the group here, but at least with me, the question if perhaps I belong to this group. So I'm wondering if I perhaps waste my time by meditating. So perhaps you can help with how to check out if I belong there or not.
2 points, Mikhail. First, the very fact that you have that question, that you raise that doubt, makes it clear that you're not sitting there dreaming and deluding yourself. It's clear? It's the person who never thinks about that and just sits self-satisfied in his little samadhi. This is the real danger. The fact that what I said was able to strike you and make you question sincerely. Don't worry, you're not part of that group. You've already transcended that. Now for the second point. The second point is you must give all of yourself in the practice. There's no magic here. I don't have a magic ball I can give you. All I can tell you is from my practice and from the practice of those over the centuries. It's neither simple nor difficult. It's just a matter of giving all of ourselves. And when it's clear, when the way is clear, when you are, as you are, Mikhail, sincere and honest, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Be patient, but not lazy. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but what is with this monk? You told us he was the senior monk, 30 years practicing, well respected, but he fucked it up or not?
Do you mean the senior monk who wrote the poem or the monk who was chasing after the Sixth Patriarch?
The senior monk who wrote the poem about polishing the mirror.
Remember, this is a legend, okay? It's not history, it was made up, but it was made up very carefully. What is it saying? It's a good question, Mikhail, it's a good question. What is it really saying? This guy was the head monk. He practiced for years. He was very learned and very experienced as a practitioner. All of that is good and well. But you can see from his poem, again, legendary, but from the poem, that he is still sitting there polishing his mirror. That is not something bad or evil or simply dualistic and gradual as it's often seen, is it often made out to be. No, that practice is precious. It is precious. He was the head monk. The fifth patriarch made him the head monk. He knew what he was doing. He was an outstanding monk. The sixth patriarch, the guy who became the sixth patriarch, was in a completely different category, you might say. Wasn't educated. Again, it's a legend, but it makes it clear, doesn't it? He wasn't educated. He didn't know about all this. There is no record of him even meditating. Remember, he was working in the kitchen as kind of a laborer. And yet, he awakened. He got it. You see what's being said. The basic point, you don't need anything. You don't need learning. Even the Zazen, as valuable as it is, you're not going to get there through the Zazen. You understand?
Yeah.
Give yourself so fully to the Zazen that there's no question of getting there or not. You understand? This is where the head monk's poem, you say he fucked it up. Well, I wouldn't say that. He was an outstanding monk. But that's all. But by putting him side by side with the guy who became the sixth patriarch, originally not one thing, where can the dust alight? Great. But without what you have been doing all these years, Mikhail, it will not come to life. So I assure you, you are not wasting your time. You do have to give all of yourself. That's the only other thing I would add. Is that enough, Mikhail?
That's enough. In the same vein, I know you saying give all of yourself is meant to be encouraging. However, yeah, as Michael said, it does raise a great doubt. And now, if I am not, the doubt that I am not able or maybe not willing to give myself fully and completely. So I don't know, either not able or not willing or not worthy or whatever, something lacking and stuff like that. So yeah, so maybe you could give a little hint for a door to opening to giving all of yourself.
I think something that Germans can understand very well. It's not a question of whether you are willing or whether you are able. It's simply a question of whether it is what you must do. When it's there, when it gets to that, it will be done. As long as you're still there with the possibility, yes, it's impossible. When it is what must be done, when there is nothing else, it will be done. Is that encouraging? I don't know, but As long as you are there wavering with the possibility, arguing with yourself, well, yeah, it's impossible. But when you, in all sincerity and honesty, look right here, how can you not? There is no alternative. Is there? When you realize that this is what must be done and you are willing to do it, it will be done. Then it's just a matter of getting a new rag, perhaps, to polish the mirror a little bit more. That's all. But that's secondary. You must get to the point where there is nothing else. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, in a way I do. I will know better if I get there.
Well, you're
But
not
I
far.
must, but I must say the story of the strong monk trying to pick up the ropes, it really moved me to tears. I must say it's a very, very beautiful and moving story. And so I thought maybe, maybe it's the heart, that it's about the heart. You know?
Yeah, it's a legend, but it's very good. He has come. He's very strong. He's very able. He's very willing. But when it gets to the point to take these outward symbols, you can imagine he couldn't lift it. He couldn't take it. In a sense, that's where you have to get to. That's where the great doubt is manifest, right underfoot. And that's where, in the story again, he had a complete change of heart. He realized, oh, I'm not here for that stuff. I'm here for the Dharma. I'm ready. Yes. If it moved you to tears, Bernhard, you have it in you. You have it in you.
This must I can imagine about it. I can feel. Even I'm not German. I'm Austrian, but I'm still. This is German. But for me, it seems like at the end, how to come there. At the end, it's connected with luck or with like in science, there is Zufall. Chance, no. Accident. Like, because, when I sit, for example, yesterday I was sitting, I couldn't do the second part of the night sitting because the pain was so big, so I decided to stop. Mm-hmm. For me, I gave everything, because if I would have gone on sitting, maybe I would have hurt myself. Mm-hmm. And so it was a decision. My mind said, you lost, but anyway I did it, and it was a good decision. To come to this must, I know, little parts in my life where I had it not about sitting, but like I must do that because I want it and everything is there. It's a great feeling, if you mean that. But how I came there, it was, I don't know, something brought me there, or afterwards I could say, oh yeah, because of that or that, but I couldn't do it. So my question is again to the must.
Yes. Well, first of all, you didn't fail last night when you decided not to continue sitting. The point is to continue the practice. That doesn't mean you have to sit through all of the periods. It means if you realize maybe you are injuring yourself, get up and take a break, take a bath, or lay down and rest. But do that as part of the practice. You understand? Do that because that is what must be done at that moment. We're not here to injure ourselves, to torture ourselves. So the point is to continue the practice no matter what. If you stop the practice because you're afraid you might injure yourself, that's fine. But if you then create a whole scenario, oh, I'm a failure, then you really have, in a sense, stepped out of the practice. But if you simply say, something's not right, it feels like, okay, let that get up and take a break and do what needs to be done so that you can come back fresh. So again, when I say give all of yourself, I don't mean as some tremendous, willful effort to bang against whatever is there. No, when you really give all of yourself, do you know what happens? There is no opposing position. There is no opposing position. All of those hindrances, the pain, sleepiness, they are not a hindrance at all. They may still be there, but they are not a problem. There is no opposing, you understand, position. That's the value of giving all of yourself. If you give half of yourself, well, you know where that leads, don't you? Nowhere fast. But it comes naturally. It comes naturally when you see this is what must be done. I am not going to live the rest of my life following my delusions and causing pain to myself and others. I will not do that. I am going to live reality, what is real, what is true. I must do that with the life that I have. When that's clear, the way is clear. It may not be completely easy all the way, but nothing can really get in the way of that, okay? Is it fortuitous, an accident, just chance event? Does it matter? It's not an event in the first place. You will see when you really awaken, you will see that what you awaken to is the fact that you have always been this. It has nothing to do with chance or fortune or luck or even willful determination. No, it's prior to all of that. So don't worry about whether it's, if you're lucky enough. You can't miss it if you practice properly. But don't turn it into something fortuitous or by chance. It's right under your feet. What are you talking about? You're walking on it every step. Realize it. Is it clear?
Yeah, it sounds like deep insights, to have deep insights for me to go to get to the must.
It's right here. It's right here. When you stop escaping, it's right here, isn't it? What else is there to do?
Just to make it clear for me, the must if I, for example, accept that pain is not is my way to get through. If I can accept this, is this the way? Is this the must for the way?
When it is really there, it is what you must do. The pain is irrelevant. Don't torture yourself, don't hurt yourself. But you will see the pain is not the real hindrance, is it, Werner?
Yeah.
You see that already. It comes and it goes. Sometimes it's terrible. Sometimes it disappears. But that is not the real hindrance, is it?
No, that's right. I mean, well, after accepting the pain, well, it was a hindrance as well. I mean, the pain was still there, so it hasn't gone, and that was a little bit frustrating, you know.
From my experience, I had a great deal of pain too. And then finally learning to sit properly in full lotus, which was also very painful in the beginning. But as I continued in the practice, I would say now this posture is the most comfortable posture. It's better than lying down to sleep. It's the most comfortable posture there is. But I had to go through a lot of pain to get there, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to torture yourself. You need to find out the posture that is best for your body and then to see it through to the end. To see it through to the end. You're there, Werner. You're there. You just need one more whack on the head, as we say in Zen. Don't worry about the pain. Don't torture yourself either. It's not about the pain, Werner.
No, I don't worry about it, but I'm just well, I thought when I accepted it that it is not a problem for me, but is still there.
That's what I would say, though. When I realized the nature of the pain, when I sat through the pain and finally it was gone, of course, sometimes it comes back. It should come back. We have a body. We need to know when something is wrong, but it is no longer a problem. There is the sensation of pain, and I listen to it and I respect it, but it's not a problem because I have seen the nature of that pain, how it arises, how it continues for a while, and how it goes away. You have realized that too. Yeah. Maybe you now expect it to be completely up in the clouds or something. No, you should have pain. Your body needs that, but you don't need to torture yourself. Ease up. You're in your 70s, right?
Yeah, nearly 80.
Yeah, I think you can ease up a little bit on the pain, don't you? It's not about the pain, Werner. It's about realizing where you are. Okay, my friend?
Okay.
All that what you're doing here
too often sounds to me like a task.
Like a task?
Task, something which we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a long time, there was a goal.
Yes.
And when you say, just do it, just give up yourself, also often sounds like a goal, something which I have to do. And this brings me in trouble. And events come up, and thoughts come up, and ways, how can I reach it, come up. And sometimes I still would say, if I'm lucky, the curtain, the hindrance falls apart. And nothing has been done. And all is done. And still there is a point when I'm sitting in this very subtle goal, objective, isn't the way. And then I cannot, whatever I do, I press and but then grace comes here and there, and then everything is here. And how if I say how to distinguish is the wrong word, because it's again putting something there. But still there is suffer. Still there is waiting, although there is no need to wait, as I know.
It sounds strange, but instead of trying to get out of that, go all the way into it. Go all the way into it. Again, not the thoughts and the ideas, anything like that, but in your heart of hearts. Right there, right there. Again, look at these expressions. Are they saying willful effort? Mind arises without abiding. Originally, there is not a thing. Your original face. They're all pointing to it, but the danger is failing to see the value of polishing the mirror. This is an even greater danger. You see, huh? But you're right. If it becomes goal, now you have to do this. Do what? See what's under your own feet? Realize who you are? How can you not do that? It's been there from the first. That's what you keep glimpsing, huh? Right? That's where the release comes. You realize it was there all along. Yes. Really penetrate that. And you answer your own question as you are, huh?
Hi, Jeff. In your Dharma talk, you spoke about the danger turning things into objects. And it sometimes feels during the sitting that what holds me back to jump is a kind of danger to loosen this feeling of self. So I think it's the other way around danger.
Actually, it's the same danger. It's still turning it into an object, but in a very subtle way. Let me put it this way. What if there was no self to come back to, Christoph?
Feels like a release.
Yes, for the ego self, of course, wrapped up in itself, that's scary, that's threatening. What do you mean? I want to have my little shell to go back into. But the point is, when you really see what is here, you don't need to go back to some self-identity, what I call the self-delusion, that is the delusion of the self. Do you need to go back to some self-identity? No.
I know both directions. I know there is this feeling of release, but sometimes there is a feeling, it feels like a very deep fear.
Well, that's where you need to apply yourself. What is it? What is there really to be afraid of? Right there. See into that. As I've said before, the only thing to really be afraid of is to spend the rest of your life hip-hopping like that, right? To me, that would be hell. See it. What is that fear really? What are you really afraid of? What are you really afraid of losing? And is that perhaps precisely what you need to let go of? When you're ready, when you see it, it will be done. But you've got to see it for yourself, Christoph. Okay?